is gone 8 o'clock Central African time. Good evening and welcome to the news bulletin at 8, brought to you by Eswatini TV. My name is Sanebo Ngwane. Thank you so much for choosing to stay with us. We are coming to you live from our Hospital Hill studios in Mbabane, and these are your top stories tonight. The acting Prime Minister says it is time that men stand up against gender-based violence to end the cycle. The Minister of Commerce, Industry and Trade says there are obstacles that frequently prevent women from realizing their full potential. And the Ministry of Tingul Administration and Development has allocated an estimated 14 million emalangeni to operationalize 6 Tingul service centers. And now the news in detail. The acting Prime Minister, Themba Masuku, says it is time that men stand up against gender-based violence to end the cycle. Masuku said this during the official handover of the female medical ward at the Relay Fitkin Memorial Hospital, which was rehabilitated by Standard Bank and resource mobilization for 2.9 million emalangeni.
The acting Prime Minister Themba Masuku says the female medical ward handed over to RFM, rehabilitated by Standard Bank and the Resource Mobilization Committee for 2.9 million emalangeni, comes with features convenient during the COVID-19 era.
2020 saw the commencement of the rehabilitation project through a partnership with Micro Projects, who was selected as the project coordinator on behalf of Standard Bank. The ward is now fully rehabilitated with state-of-the-art fittings and beds, a structure built in line with COVID-19 regulations. It must be pointed out that this ward is the first of its kind in Eswatini. This particular ward, after rehabilitation, now houses 100 patients, caters for the admission of women suffering chronic illnesses at Raleigh Fitkin Memorial. Previously, the ward had the capacity to take 150 patients. However, it has now been adjusted to align to COVID standards. This is a commendable strategy.
The Minister of Health, Liz Nkosi, says having the ward opened will ease the burden to other hospitals, which was caused by its closure.
But what is more important about this hospital, there are many famous people that were born here. I think one of the things we pride ourselves about is the fact that His Majesty King Mswati III was born in this hospital. In fact, there's a space dedicated and a room dedicated to that memory, and in that room you will find the register that was kept on that day where the Queen Mother actually wrote and signed. You will find the record of his birth in there. So it is a very important hospital for the nation.
Standard Bank's Managing Director Mvuselelo Fagudze says the bank will continue to support government and the people of Eswatini for further development. Chairman of the Resource Mobilization Committee, Dr. Phil Mnisi, says the committee will always work tirelessly to raise funds to help Eswatini during the course of the pandemic. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I'm Nelson Ngamandla with Muslim Konda in Manzini.
Minister of Commerce, Industry and Trade, Mangoba Khumalo, says there are obstacles that frequently prevent women from realizing their full potential. Khumalo has called for equal representation and involvement of women and says it is one of the central issues of gender equality in Eswatini. The minister said this when addressing attendees at the International Women's Day celebration at the Mountain Inn in Mbabane.
The Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Trade, in collaboration with the Republic of China, Taiwan, has celebrated the International Women's Day on Monday. This has been done under the theme Choose to Challenge. Minister of Commerce, Industry and Trade, Mangoba Khumalo, joined the celebration virtually. Khumalo said women often face challenges that were a barrier to their success in life.
Deep-rooted patriarchy has created a wide gender gap in the world's economy, corporations, societies, and culture. Therefore, women are encouraged to take up the challenges that come up with their day-to-day activities, which include but are not limited to preparation of meals, caring for household members, and transmitting values, culture, and knowledge. It is an undeniable fact that women frequently face obstacles that prevent them from fully realizing their potential and indeed their careers.
Republic of China Taiwan Embassy Minister Councillor Oliver Han said this year's theme speaks to women in rural areas.
The involvement of the grassroots women is a noble idea and worth to be applauded. This is also to emphasize that the project's main concern is to empower the grassroots women in business knowledge, business skills, and information that will benefit them, improving their living standards.
Motivating women at the event was Women Farmer Foundation founder Sonia Paiva, who said women wanted to excel. Paiva said it is possible for women to succeed in a man's world. She encouraged women to work hard. For Eswatini TV News, Temgozi Mavimbela, Babane.
The Ministry of Tinkundla Administration and Development has allocated an estimated 14 million emalangeni to operationalize 6 Tinkundla service centers this financial year. This was said by the Minister of Tinkundla Administration, David Ngampalala, when presenting 4 vehicles and computers to some service centers at the ministry.
The Minister of Tinkundla Administration and Development, David Ngampalala, says the service centers that will benefit from the 14 million emalangeni amayiwane, Gege, Mhlambanyatsi, Lukongolweni, Simunye and Lobamba. He presented 4 vehicles and computers worth 5.5 million emalangeni to the service centers. He urges those tasked with the equipment to look after it and work to further government's mandate. The minister promises to monitor the use of the equipment. Manzini Regional Administrator Chief Gija, who spoke on behalf of the benefiting constituencies, says bringing the service centers to the communities is a true sign of development at grassroots level. He thanked the ministry for putting the people first, saying it has always been evident that the people are at the heart of the ministry, judging from the projects which are decentralized to the people. The minister says over 16 million emalangeni has been budgeted for next financial year for further development of the service centers. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I'm Nelson Ndlangamandla with Temkotsi Mavimbela in Babane.
The disbursement of elderly grants will begin on the 11th of March 2021. In a statement issued by the Deputy Prime Minister's office, the disbursement will continue in the Lubombo region, followed by Ho region on the 15th, Shiselweni region on the 17th, and finally Manzini on the 22nd. In a statement issued by Principal Secretary Makosini Mdawe, 2,642 new disability grant beneficiaries have been added to the 5,072 who are already receiving them and will receive payment. Mdawe says the DPMO is still continuing with enrolling more disability grants recipients through their Tinkundla constituencies. Beneficiaries will continue to receive their grants electronically. Eswatini Post and Telecommunications Corporation EPTC will give out further details on the disbursement exercise. We continue with the news. The Minister for Natural Resources and Energy, Peter Pembe, says the annual Earth Hour has inspired the protection of nature, climate change and environment. The Minister was represented by the Principal Secretary in the Ministry, Dorcas Dlamini, during an official launch of the Earth Hour, which was held virtually in Manzini.
The standard Earth Hour logo is 60, that represents the 60 minutes of Earth Hour to minimize the consumption of energy. According to the Minister for Natural Resources and Energy, Peter Pembe, who was represented by the Principal Secretary in the Ministry, Dorcas Dlamini, the new logo of the Earth Hour is 60 plus, which represents the commitment from every single hand beyond the hour.
Locally, the Earth Hour event has been spearheaded by Eswatini Electricity Company for the past 10 years. And as a ministry, we applaud the company and its partners for such efforts towards climate change mitigation. Everyone is encouraged to adopt sustainable practices, change the way they live and think. Be responsible consumers, adapt and mitigate climate change effects and reduce climate change impacts as much as they can. With these remarks, I declare the Earth Hour initiative launch. The theme, climate change to serve the earth. Let's save the earth.
The Eswatini Electricity Company Acting Managing Director Vusi Gama says the company appreciates the commitment from different sectors towards environmental protection demonstrated over the past years and even amid the COVID-19 pandemic. Eswatini Environmental Authority's Acting Director, Gcina Dladla, appeals to companies to work with the authority to ensure the protection of the environment. The Earth Hour is expected to be observed from 8:30 to 9:30 p.m. by switching off non-essential lights and appliances. For Eswatini TV News, Sondomlangeni in Babane.
All 10 national service centers under the Ministry of Home Affairs will now operate on weekends of the month of March. The operations will only cater for ID enrollments only. This was said by the Principal Secretary in the Ministry, Nhlanhla Nxumalo.
In response to the 7-month interference caused by the negative effects of COVID-19 on ID enrollment service delivery nationwide, the Ministry of Home Affairs Principal Secretary Nhlanhla Nxumalo says the ministry has decided that all 10 service centers will now operate on weekends to enroll for both late and current national identity documents. Nxumalo says this is to relieve the service centers from getting overwhelmed with long queues.
These services will be offered from the coming weekend, which will be the 13th of March 2021 to the 28th. It will end on the 28th in March 2021. Requirements for national ID documents enrollment are as follows. Those that need these IDs will need to bring original and certified copy of their birth certificates. If we want to replace a lost ID, you need to furnish the office with a police report. In terms of fees, you are expected to pay 25 emalangeni for current enrollment and 50 emalangeni receipt for second ID enrollment.
Nxumalo says for payments, Eswatini are advised to use government revenue offices in their vicinity, as they will also be open on the weekends. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I am Sifiso Nxumalo with Smuva Shongwe in Hlangano.
COVID-19 has brought about a new normal that has seen the House of Senate reviewing its standing orders to enable it to meet virtually and formulate legislations. Senate President Lindiwe Dlamini says they will use this opportunity to look into their standing orders holistically to go with current times. The meeting was held at Happy Valley Hotel in Zulwini on Monday.
The digital era has now become a part of everyday life. Rather than being technophobic, senators are learning more about virtual meetings as part of their standing orders review workshop. Senate President Lindiwe Dlamini says senators need to evolve to adapt to the fourth industrial revolution. Dlamini says other jurisdictions have already adopted virtual sittings.
You will further recall that as part of our sessional committees, we have the Standing Orders Committee, which in its wisdom resolved that we all be present as senators to review our standing orders. You are all aware that there are certain provisions within our standing orders that need to be reviewed. You will further recall that over and above that, there was a resolution taken by Senate for the review of our standing orders in light of the COVID-19 pandemic that has changed life as we knew it.
United Nations Development Programme Resident Representative Rose Sebatendira says remote working and social distancing has led to a reduction in, and in some cases, suspension of parliament sittings globally. Tendira says as a result, parliament's role to scrutinize government business and to pass legislation has been heavily compromised.
Similarly, the expectations for parliamentary transparency and accessibility by all citizens. We all know that when Parliament is unable to operate as usual, it challenges the very fabric of democracy. And I believe this is a shared concern that is at the core of our deliberations today.
Sebantindira says while it is too early to understand the future benefits and the full extent of the limitations for virtual parliaments, COVID-19 has created an opportunity to accelerate parliament innovation and to develop new working methods that could have a significant impact on the way parliament looks into the future. Clerk to Parliament Benedict Kaba, who was represented by his deputy Zanele Kametse, says they want the Parliament of Eswatini to take the lead in terms of embracing technology in the region. Kaba says they want other jurisdictions to see Parliament of Eswatini as a benchmark. For Eswatini TV News, Temgosi Mavimbela.
Eswatini Action Group Against Abuse Director Nhlanhla Dlamini has encouraged women in Eswatini to continue contributing towards the country's development. Dlamini was speaking during a drive-through initiative held in Manzini aimed at celebrating women. Our reporter Sonto Mlangeni has more on that story.
Eswatini Action Group Against Abuse organization joined the world in celebrating Women's Day. The organization organized a drive-through initiative where people were able to drop off dignity packs for vulnerable girls.
To honor the women that we have lost in the past 2 years, and these are the women that have been in the forefront in the struggle of women in different sectors, be it in the media, be it in the religion sector, and any other sector. So in honoring them and saying we are going to keep the candle on, we are requesting Swazis to bring dignity packs, which could be in a form of sanitary pads, toothpaste, toothbrush, towels, soap, anything that we will then give to the girls that we work with that are in need.
The theme for the 2021 International Women's Day is #ChooseToChallenge, which encourage women to find solutions to problems that are faced by the world, such as the COVID-19 pandemic. For Eswatini TV News, Sonto Mlangeni in Manzini.
In commemorating the International Women's Day, Kwaka Indvodza started an initiative of honoring and celebrating women through the use of social media campaigns. The campaign also received support from men who encouraged and supported the initiative in honor of this unique day. According to the communications officer Hlobile Jele, it is important to stand as one, especially to uplift the work of women in the country.
The 8th of March marks the celebration of International Women's Day across the globe. Different organizations celebrate this day in accordance to uplifting women. This year, Kwaka Indvodza organization that educates boys and men on life skills in the country has taken an initiative to stand with women in order to support and encourage them. The social media campaign brought celebratory and informative special messages from men as well as women on the organization's Facebook page.
As an organization, we did not want to miss this opportunity to be a part of this important day. The theme for the year is Women in Leadership, Achieving an Equal Future in a COVID World. And we as an organization believe that it was important that a male mentoring organization takes part in such an initiative and also just amplifies some of the issues that are there concerning women in in our country. Our campaign, our social media campaign, will be using the hashtag Choose to Challenge, where we will be challenging some of the stereotypes that are oppressing women in our country and in the world. These messages will be coming from women themselves and also men who choose to challenge some of the issues that they too have identified in our country and the world. It is important that men join in such initiatives just to have one voice in these issues, because some of these issues, as much that as they may be issues that are faced by women, but they are issues that are in a world that we all exist in. So it is important that men too use their voice and challenge the gender stereotypes and all other issues, that social issues that may exist that oppress women, for us all to have an equal country, a country that supports all genders.
Jayla says it is of utmost importance to address issues that women are faced with, more especially those of gender-based stereotypes, to empower mental health for women so that they are motivated to tackle jobs that are thought to be set aside for men. Reporting for Eswatini TV, Nomalungelo Jele in Baban.
Welcome back. Now we take a look at news making headlines in the world of sports. Eswatini Lawn Bowls Association President Karin Byers says the lack of a facility with the requirements for the sport is what has pushed the sport to remain inactive in the country. Byers highlighted this after the association was terminated by the Eswatini Olympic Commonwealth Games Association during the annual general meeting held this past Sunday. Fabrice Mosonera has more on that story.
In the recent annual general meeting that was conducted virtually this past weekend, the Eswatini Olympic Commonwealth Games Association terminated 3 local sporting associations for lack of inactivities and failing to meet the required standards to be a registered association. One of the associations to be terminated was the Lawn Bowls Association. The association's president, Karin Byers, says lack of a playing facility is what has caused the lack of growth of the sport in the country. Byers says lawn bowls require a special fit that currently they don't have as an association.
You know, we're sitting with the bowls, we're sitting with all the equipment and that sort of thing, and it's very difficult. It's very, very difficult. You know, football you can play anywhere, and future bowlers. The sport can't go forward if you can't play the game. It starts with a bowling green. We can't go and play on a tar road, and we can't go and play just on any, like a cricket pitch or something like that. You need a proper bowling green.
Byers concluded highlighting that it will be hard to tell at the moment when will the sport resume. Other terminated sporting codes are Weightlifting Association and Badminton Association. For Eswatini TV Sports, Fabrice Msonera, Mbabane.
Zitande Athletics Club coordinator Nsizwa Twala says as a club they have taken a social responsibility role of encouraging Emaswati to keep active by exercising regularly. Twala says everyone can use the little time they get to stay active as the country continues to fight the coronavirus pandemic. Twala was speaking during an interview with the Eswatini TV Sports in Mbabane.
Zitande Athletics Club is one of the local athletics clubs that has in its mandate to try and encourage Emaswati to exercise regularly and keep active.
Kuleti khastabo lockdown sibonile ukuthi bantu babalimele etingqondweni, bantu bahlukubetekile ngakulahlekelwa ngumsebenzi nayo.
The club's coordinator Nsizwa Twala says during this lockdown, when the sporting activities are on hold due to the ongoing coronavirus pandemic, it is quite important for everyone to remain active while at home. Twala says everyone has a way that they can exercise at home to ensure that they fight any mental stress that could be caused by the pandemic. He says they will keep playing a social responsibility in trying to encourage Emaswati to exercise regularly. The Eswatini Athletics Association is also amongst the association that join hands with the Eswatini Sport Council when the Shuguma program that encourages Amaswati to exercise regularly was launched. For Eswatini TV Sports, Fabrice Msonera, Mbabane.
Well, Eswatini, that brings us to the end of our news bulletin at 8 here at Eswatini TV. But before we go, here's a quick recap of news making headlines tonight. The acting Prime Minister says it is time that men stand up against gender-based violence to end the cycle. The Minister of Commerce, Industry and Trade says there are obstacles that frequently prevent women from realizing their full potential. And the Ministry of Tingul Administration and Development has allocated an estimated 14 million emalangeni to operationalize 6 Tingul service centers. Well, Eswatini, that brings us to the end of our news bulletin at 8 here at Eswatini TV. Thank you so much for choosing to stay with us. We shall cross over to the Weather Center for a detailed weather report from us and the rest of the transmission crew here at Eswatini TV. Thank you so much for staying with us. It's good night and God bless.